Chairman. Good afternoon. We've got apologies from Councillors Karen Carruthers, Councillor Collins, Dick, Hislop, McGregor, McCutcheon and Tuckfield. There's 14 members present at the start of the meeting.
Thank you. Declarations of interest, members? None? Okay, thank you for that. Minute of meeting of 5th of December 2014. There's only Councillor McKay.
Chair, I was just wanting to ask a question about this. There's an action point in these minutes which is not going to be taken today because we're only doing finance. Should we clear these minutes today or should we not leave them to the next meeting? First full meeting of the committee.
No, the minute's accurate. That's the decision that was taken. And since this is a special meeting, it is a procedural matter that I take it you're referring to the lobbying activity, aye. And we have already discussed that, Lily and I, and it will come to members in the February meeting. That's a procedural matter, and I think the minutes are accurate. We've agreed to do that, and it will come to the February meeting, the 24th of February. And since I'm on the microphone anyway, can I remind members that this meeting will be recorded and will be made available for public listening, should a request be made for that. So with that inquiry, are there any other matters that members wish to raise in a minute, or can we agree that it's a true record? Councillor Carruthers.
Chairman, it was in regards to the minute, just what we discussed earlier. I wonder if there's an appropriate place somewhere on the agenda just to quickly discuss the subcommittee in regards to it not actually being active at this moment.
That's fine. We can't discuss it on the minute because there's no part of the minute. I'll bring it in at the end because Councillor Maitland has already indicated she wants to raise the matter as well. So on any matters of urgent business, we will discuss the Community Health and Safety Partnership Board subcommittee and the members of this council on that committee. With that being said, are we happy to accept the minute as a true record? Thank you. We now come to item 4, scrutiny of budget proposals 2015-16, 2017-18, report by Chief Social Work Officer, Head of Children, Families and Criminal Justice Service. There's very little to add to what is on the papers. We know the procedural business that is conducted on these budget proposals. At the moment, there is only the administration budget proposal that's been tabled. I'm sure members will take the opportunity, if they feel they wish to place or lodge alternatives on the 5th of February. But if any member wants to discuss any alternative proposals here today, I'm happy to have that discussed, although it won't form part of the deliberations. We're simply here today to scrutinise the budget proposals that are before us. So if members are happy with that, we can progress to the 4 elements of the budget proposal that are before us today. Councillor Scobie.
Thought it was on, Jim. Thanks, Jim. Yeah, under 3.11 of the report on page 8, groups and organisations potentially affected by the revenue budget proposal have been received letters. Could I ask if, firstly, I would like to thank you and Ted for your time given in terms of meeting with me on kinship care. And I know there was only one member, but has the kinship care organisations or organisation been written to and offered this facility to meet as a group to go over the impact on the budget on them? And if not, could we have that arranged?
Certainly, I presume that the public engagement opportunities would have been afforded to all groups and individuals, and they could have taken advantage of that. But I'll just check with Lillian to see whether or no any specific groups have been written to out with the procedural arrangements that we have for budget consultation.
We certainly made an offer to all organisations, but I can certainly go back and check whether that specific group were invited, and if not, we can make arrangements to share this information with them. Thanks
for that, Willie. Okay, Andy?
Yeah, can we get assurance that's extended to, if we're going to go to I wouldn't say a small group, I don't mean that in the wrong way here, but there's a huge number of people who are no member of any group who could be affected here. Have we had a dialogue with the service users or the carers of the service users, especially the voluntary carers, that what's potentially coming down the road?
Thanks for the question. And you mind what I said to Will a minute ago, that every individual and group were made aware of the public consultation exercise, and this year it happened on Tuesday evening. It was well attended, but there was obviously an opportunity for others to attend. It wasn't as well attended as we'd hoped, but we believe that we have given the opportunity by virtue of advertising, making contact with the varying organisations, and of course members are in a position to convey information to organisations, individuals as well. But on your specific question, I'll ask Lillian to respond.
We actually had quite a robust meeting with a range of organisations. The Carers Centre was represented, so we have had those conversations. But again, if there's a particular group or individual who would wish further information, I'm certainly happy to facilitate that.
Thanks for the answer, Lillian. I'm acutely aware that people often get the wrong end of the stick reading something in a newspaper that's a paraphrase of what's actually happened. And it's really just to make sure that the carers and those with capacity understand exactly what the process is. And I appreciate all the efforts that have been made for the public consultation. I'm actually talking about the department speaking to the people actually involved. That's what I'm getting at.
Thanks for that, Andy. And Lillian will undertake to do that. Okay, members, in that case, if we can move forward, we have the agreed budget process, which was agreed by full council. That's Appendix 1. We have the administration draft budget proposal, which all groups and individuals have had. That's Appendix 2. We have the budget development process outlined, which is Appendix 3. And that starts the one of 4 areas of a consideration today that we come to. So we have 4, I suppose we best describe them as headings, where we see the opportunity to deliver savings without an adverse impact on staff or service users. And the first of those is the service review of home care, outlined in the documents that every member was given, how that would be achieved, and it's detailed for you today, pages 15 through to 17. Are there any questions on that particular element? Councillor Carruthers?
Thanks, Chairman. This is one we have had questions on in regards to kind of almost like a Big Brother approach. I just wonder if we could have got that kind of explored a wee bit further and explained even further from maybe whoever the appropriate person is, whether it's Lennon or not. But the concerns we're getting is regards not so much whether this will actually achieve real-time financial benefits, it's how it will actually be implemented and worked, and will it have, again, will it be a detriment to the staff in real terms, again, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector?
Thanks for that, Ian. I think it's already been used by DG First, and staff have signed up to that, and it's working well. Lillian and her team have met with private providers, independent providers, and we have, with the ones we've met so far, we haven't met them all, there's been a very positive response, and we are not looking to be draconian in the mechanism that's applied. It's simply a practical way of ensuring best service delivery to service users, and by default, we will make a saving. And there is no indication at this stage that there will be a negative effect, and there's no indication at this stage that any provider will not sign up to using that once the explanation has been made to them about how this will be achieved and how their involvement will be a positive one, and it will benefit them as well. For example, at the moment, if we do a 15-minute extra piece of work with one person, there's a paper exercise that's conducted for that organisation to be paid. Done electronically, it will happen immediately, and that will be consistent across the board, so we will make saving on admin, and it will be a more timious approach for actual and efficient payments to the service provider. That's one example. There are many, and I'm sure in another forum Lillian would be happy to explain to you and your group how this whole mechanism will be applied and delivered. Ian?
Just when you say in another forum, does that mean they'll not get the chance to ask and get the question answered here? Because what's been put to me in simple terms is that, say we've got a contractor delivering a service, say they'll meet eight or even 10 clients a day. So they've got 10 clients over 10 hours, they meet each one for an hour a day, and that includes getting there and then travelling time to the next one. But they go to the first one, it's quite easy, it's half an hour, it's straightforward. Go to the next one, somebody's lying on the floor injured and it takes 4 hours, time to get the ambulance there, get sorted out. And how will that work? And that's what I'm trying to get an understanding. That's the answers I'm looking to go back to the people that are raising these concerns with me. I can answer in a different forum, but I thought I might have got at least a chance to get some kind of answer here from the people that actually implement it rather than through yourself, Chairman. I understand you'll be the budget lead on this side, you'll be the chair of social work from the administration, but I would like to understand how it works in a technical way. So if there is, for whatever, you've got a contract with it, you would imagine that they'll have to, if it's 10 hours to be delivered that day, they have to fulfil that 10 hours. But if for whatever reason there's a fluctuation to that or a change, what's the flexibility built in through the CM200, what we're looking at here? 2000, sorry.
I think the whole idea, the thing is that flexibility is built in by the management of the service. So if you're a service user, you're signed up for half an hour and the provider learns that all you need is a visit, cup of tea and a 10-minute socialisation, then move on to the next client, and that client needs more attention. It's managed better that that second client will get far better attention than the first because it's clearly evident that's how that service will work. And whilst I'm reluctant to do this, I will ask Lillian to explain ever so slightly how, in reality, that might work with 1 or 2 clients or service users. Lillian, would you like to just add to that, please?
Thank you. We actually believe that this will be a much more flexible approach, and some of those fears that have been raised will be allayed. We currently have a situation where we might have a service provision required at one part of Dumfries, and the providers go in there and provide that for 20 minutes. They then have to get to the other side. What we're looking at in this real-time monitoring is that we will be able to operate a patch system. So there'll be a much more robust process for delivering the service within each of the patches. And if you do have the very example that was given, if you have a visit that's only 15 minutes and then you have a visit that's 45 minutes, then that all comes within your core time. So we'll be much more flexible with the service providers, with some sort of parameter and buffer so that we're not being absolutely rigid to the minute. And I think that's some of the fears. And actually, the comment about is it Big Brother, that actually gives quite a protection for the service providers and for ourselves as service purchasers to know the actual service that's being delivered. And it may be that if someone, for example, had 30 minutes every day, but they were only needing 15, and there was a run of 6 days where they only needed 15, then we would realise very quickly that we needed to review that care package. Equally, if the providers were having to give someone a 40-minute package every day and they were only commissioned for a 30-minute, they can easily come back to us and say, well, actually, you're not giving us enough. So we actually think there's a much more built-in protective element to the service provision than we currently have.
Thanks, Ian. Andy?
Thanks, Chair. I was to say, we're broadly very supportive of this, and obviously it's an extension of things. Something's been getting worked on over this is the 3rd administration of this term, and it's coming to a thing. The only worry I've got is that the tablets and smartphones, we know there are black spots, right? And so really we just look for some sort of assurance that we're trying to meet a need, or how do we deal with, in there's some very remote areas where very vulnerable people, and staff very vulnerable because they're miles from anywhere, if their tablet doesn't work, doesn't get a radio signal. Just need some sort of assurance that there's still work going on to make sure that that's improved service, that's all.
I guess that wouldn't have formed part of the budget process, it would be a management issue, but I'm absolutely convinced that we will ensure that at the earliest opportunity electronically would be implemented. But I can give you a guarantee, and I'm sure Lillian can as well, there'll be no individual compromised by the introduction of this system. Would that be fair to say, Lillian?
It's certainly, and I could ask Angela to give you an update on some of the processes that we're currently going through in terms of connectability if required.
Chair, I'm quite happy to take Lillian's word that it's progressing.
Can you repeat that, please? My apologies, Andy, I didn't hear what you were saying. Right, okay. If members have, I know, thanks, Graham, I don't need that. I hear need, I need. If members are happy with that, okay, we'll accept that that will be taken forward to the budget setting process on the 5th of February, and we'll go on to the second item on the agenda, which is the cost reduction through holistic view of existing care packages and assessment of new self-directed support allocations. Members will have the same opportunity to consider this in detail. If there are no questions, we will. Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, it's maybe an assurance rather than a question, Chair. And I am looking at page 19, where it's projected over the 3 years, some savings of 1.5 million over the 3 years. And I just want, and I'm sure we could all put out reservations and concerns as to whether we can reach a £1.5 million on the service to the people the most vulnerable, or some of whom will be the most vulnerable. But it's against, what's being described in here as the self-directed support, and whether indeed, that figure can be achieved against proper assessment of on the individual in terms of packages, against resources, financial resources that would be made available, and that indeed there is no health and safety or risk assessment at risk here in terms of our service delivery, in taking a huge chunk, as is being described here, 5% of the budget.
Thanks, Willie. And again, I think we're all conscious that what we don't want to be doing is compromising the health, well-being and safety of individuals by these cuts. But we feel that a more managed discussion with service users, a more refined approach to their individual needs will result in a better outcome for them, and it will achieve the savings that are presented here. What I will say is, if for whatever reason that doesn't come to pass, that will absolutely be reported back to this committee. And I understand, I don't want you to say it'll be too late. It will not be too late. I would expect that at a very early stage, if any member of the public, what service user that we are responsible for supporting, experiences difficulties, we would want to know about it. But you want to come back, Willie?
Yeah, Chair, I'm grateful for your assurance, or as much as you can give, and indeed that this will be closely monitored, and I have no doubt again on the report backs on the budget review. But, my experience has been in terms of the assessment, and that's the assessed needs on the individual, and from the number of groups that I've spoken to, that not everyone, indeed very few, have had an assessment with a follow-through assessment package. It's more driven by the budget than the assessed needs. And what I would be looking for from you is that there will be full and proper assessments, and that the service user will receive an in-depth assessment, and it's driven on the assessed needs rather than the budget. And that way, the people could perhaps feel better assured. And it's that assurance, Chair.
I'm sure you'll get that assurance from me. And Lillian, can you just endorse that view that we will indeed, it will be focused on the individual rather than on any particular saving that we might hope to make?
Clearly, the principles of self-directed services is the outcome of the service user. The recognised need is the principles for self-directed services, and I'm absolutely confident that we will ensure that the full services that are required and the services to meet the needs of the individuals will be able to be met within these proposals.
Thanks for that, Willie. Thanks for that question. Jane?
Chairman, we have an outstanding action. This committee is expected to have received a report on spot and block contracts. And that is still actually hasn't appeared. I seem to remember that would have been last September. some time that we asked for that, and it still hasn't appeared. I think it might have been helpful had we had that, so that we could have considered and scrutinised this only with the knowledge of the level of use of block contracts that the council has been taking up. In the past, as you probably know, there have been, I think, an underuse of block contracts, and people purchasing elsewhere would have been helpful and useful to have seen that. So I wonder if you could tell us when we might expect to see that.
In a one-word answer, no, but I will ask Lillian, because it doesn't form part of the deliberations today, but I'm sure Lillian can give us an assurance at an early date that will be forthcoming, especially since members have requested it. What I will do is I'll ask Lillian either to give us a briefing note in February or tell us in February when that particular piece of work will be done and presented to members, if you're happy with that, Jane. Councillor Nicholl and then Andy.
Thanks, Chair. In page 18, third paragraph down, target saving for 2014-15 from the review of high-cost packages is 375,000. Turn over the page to page 19, the top line, savings this year or next year is proposed to be 855,000. My question is that 375,000 included in that 855, or is that 855 in excess or in addition to the 375?
Angela has all that information for you, Graham.
You have to come to the front one. She's no like you, Chair. She likes to sit in the background.
Apologies, thanks. Councillor Nicholl, the additional saving for 15-16 is in addition to the saving that is currently being worked on in 14-15. That is over and above the 375.
Graham.
Thank you.
Thank you. Andy.
Thanks, Chair. It's actually to do with what Jane was asking about and getting the update in February. It might be useful actually, because there's a number of things that are underway within the department to get an update on exactly where we are with all the different reviews, and just on a regular basis reported back to this committee. I appreciate that you've got your finger on the pulse as far as this is concerned, but I think the members need to know exactly where we are.
I was quite surprised at that confidence in me, Andy, but what I will do is I will, if you don't mind, I will ask you to present that question in February, because this is a budget setting debate, and on February we'll deal with your request and I'll ensure that it's met. Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions on that savings option, we come to the third one, which is intensive in-region support for young people. Do we have any questions on that particular savings option? Jane?
Well, Chairman, is it really as good as it says, which seems to produce a saving and a better outcome for children? So, I mean, you know, can I be absolutely sure that what I'm getting written on the tin will actually be inside the tin?
Well, that's certainly the aspiration, and I think what we do is we strive to do better, and I think any child that we have should not be shipped out of a region into a foreign area and simply abandoned there. We should strive to bring that child back. We recognise that there are discussions to be had with healthcare, with education, with family and friends, but we do believe that we can deliver that. And again, it's not so much a suck it and see exercise, but we're confident that the way Lillian's team works, it will be able to do that, and it will be to the benefit of the young people who are in receipt of this level of care and support at this time. Lillian, like to add something, Jane?
Could I give you that assurance that that's absolutely how we should be working with young people? We also believe that some of the issues that's been raised via this committee before about the use of external providers within region, then why should we not be negotiating to have our young people use some of those resources rather than moving them out with region and having other young people come in and use those resources. So I'm absolutely confident that that's where we will be going with our young people, and I will give you that assurance that that's what we will work towards.
Thanks, Lily and Andy, and then John.
Thanks again, Chair. And I suppose it's just a reassurance that we didn't end up with a mantra that we don't send anyone out, because we deal with it on the assessment of the child. I have every confidence that that's what will happen with the staff, and that's what they'll bring forward. But we can't cover every eventuality within the region, and the highly specialised units that are out with will still have to be used. Just with that assurance that the needs of the child won't suffer.
I think without asking Lily, you have that assurance, Andy. And I know John Syme's looking to speak because he's been enthusiastic about ensuring that children come first, and it's every time and every opportunity we should adopt that approach. John?
Thanks. Just a comment on that, Chair. I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, we were looking at all these, quite a large amount of private providers in region that were, all the kids in these places were off more or less the same area in Dunfermline or Glasgow or something else. And we did have a seminar out at the Crichton on that, and Jeff Deans and the former director looked at that, and we were supposed to have a follow-up because we met with the providers, and they were quite happy on working with us. And I think one of the big things was looking at reasonable rates to charge the council, but it all sort of fell by the wayside. So I appreciate you bringing it back up again. I think it is a way forward to look at some of these resources and see about our own kids staying in there so that they're in region, because there's the added cost as well. Social workers, family visiting kids away up in Aberdeen or whatever, which is added cost to the vast amounts that we pay for them anyway. So I'm glad that we're sort of relooking that and maybe get something up and running again to see where we can go with that. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, John. There are no other members on template 3. We'll come to the last one, which is general efficiencies. John's just illustrated one of the general efficiencies that will bring forward a saving when that's introduced. Does anyone have any questions on the final template, which is general efficiencies? Jane?
Yes, it's really a technical question with respect to the process, Chairman, because I think probably somebody's answered this question somewhere else, and I can't remember the answer to it, which is, why is this badged as a social work efficiency as opposed to simply a general efficiency, which is being expected of other departments, simply to produce general efficiencies?
I think there are always what we call general efficiencies, but we're working hard to ensure that we go beyond that. And one of the examples I would give is Andy and I have, in our turn, been to COSLA. It's an all-day event, and nowadays the introduction of video conferencing means staff can stay at home, spend a few minutes on the video conferencing and get back to work again. That will bring a huge efficiency, both in terms of a saving and the ability of members of staff to go back to work. Now, whether or no you describe that as a specialist saving or just a general efficiency anyway is the question you're asking. But it is presented as a general efficiency in this particular template, and that's how we regard it as an offer up of savings. Councillor Scobie?
Yeah, Chair, as I said earlier, I'm grateful for the time that both you and Ted gave on the kinship carer issue, and again the assurance that if the kinship carers are not being contacted, Lillian will make the direct contact with them. And I'm only presuming, and again you can clarify, that indeed the efficiency savings may include, because I've not seen a line in the budget under kinship carers and the 300,000 that was referred to at another meeting. And I've made my views known and will repeat them for the sake of consistency in terms of whether indeed that is achievable. And it does align itself with the previous template in terms of if any one child has to go into care, into residential care, the high cost associated with that could wipe out some of the projected savings. So in respect, if that is the case under kinship care, then what I would really seek is that there has been a proper examination, if you like, of this efficiency savings and particularly kinship care under GIRFIC in getting it right for every child in respect of the health and safety and well-being of the child in the efficiency savings, almost the child protection within these, in what you and Ted described as the new structure. And that there is no way that a child in any way is put at risk under the new structure. And what the mechanism is in reporting back to the Social Work Committee on a regular basis.
Well, I think we're talking about two things. As far as kinship care is concerned, that was never a saving, that was a service review, and we consistently conduct service reviews to improve the service to individuals, irrespective of age or gender. And as far as the safety of a child is concerned, as has been rehearsed a couple of times already today, and I'll ask Lillian just to say yes or no at the end of it, it comes at the heart of everything we do, and we are trying to achieve a better mechanism to protect children, have them retained in this region. It has huge benefits, and as far as we can see, other than the example Andy gave about specialist units out with the area, very few disadvantages in getting children back to where they belong, close proximity to their families, and in the region where they know and are comfortable in. But in a yes or no, the children will be at the centre of everything we do, Lillian.
I can confirm they will be, yes.
Thanks, Willie.
Yeah, and totally support. You know, that has been a long-standing from going back to days when yeah, it was something that we did pursue in bringing children back into the region. So I fully support you on that. Yeah.
Thanks, Willie. I think we're all encouraged by that, and I'm sure that'll be a success if we can achieve it. Any other questions on this particular template? In that case, members, these 4 templates will be presented to the Council on the 5th of February for consideration in conjunction with any others that may be presented on that day. We do come to any other competent business. I know Ian raised it and Jane had asked to speak on it. So as Jane is well, I better not describe as a lady, although I'm sure she is, but we'll let Jane go first.
No, I won't take it as an insult at all. Just curious as to how else I might be described, but maybe we won't go there. Chairman, thank you very much indeed for allowing me to raise this. I think all members of the Social Work Services Committee should be concerned that there have been 2 cancellations now of the Partnership Board. I think we are very concerned at the seeming lack of progress. I'm quite sure there's activity going on, but by this stage, I think we should have been introduced to the people who were due to be appointed, both in terms of general management and for the localities, for the areas, because the idea was, and the agreement between the 2 agencies was that areas should have a scrutiny role in this to be put together. And I think members are very keen. What I don't want to do in any shape or form is to make this into a battle between the agencies. There's been real encouragement and enthusiasm from both sides, from the Health Board and the Council, and I don't in any way or shape want to do away from that. But I feel a bit frustrated because I don't know what's going on, and unless we're told, and we receive information in proper session as to how the body corporate is to be put together and populated, I'm afraid, it's for us, I think we feel very uncomfortable. So I think, Chairman, I'm asking if you, through your good offices, could actually go and very quietly stick pins in people and find out what's happening, because we should have had appointments made by now. We should have been told what's happening.
Okay. Well, what I can tell you is that there was an interview held at Brighton Hall on the 17th of December, and the candidate, unfortunately, was not appointed. It's subsequently gone out to advertisement, and that process is being developed as we speak. That's for general manager. Regional managers, I believe, have been identified, and we're in the process of appointing general managers to the 4 localities. I intend, I, like you, Andy, and other members, got a cancellation note last night, I think it was. I intend to go and see senior management after this meeting today and ask them to find out why these cancellations are being consistently promoted. I do know that Lillian tells me that the Scottish Government has not yet released information that will allow us to determine the makeup of the, is that right, Lillian? But I'll ask Lillian just to specify that particular element of the Scottish Government's position. But the position is, as far as appointments are concerned, they are ongoing. And I know Ian wanted to ask a question as well. Do you want to hear Lillian's response first, or do you want to?
Maybe Lillian could maybe add to the question I suppose I've got is that they've been put off twice, share the same concerns without going over them as what Councillor Maitland has. When's the next one? Because we need to get on with business. Kind of April's coming, it's fast around the corner. We've got one scheduled in for March, I think, but I would imagine kind of we should really be looking at sooner than that because we're still in January. It's 6 or 8 weeks away. So because of, we need to take this forward as expeditiously as possible, Chairman.
It may be Andy as an into the Scottish Government. Andy?
Yeah, can we just roll all the questions together and then let Lillian answer it, I think. I think the problem really is a communications problem here, because if we'd been communicated exactly why it was off rather than just getting said it's been cancelled. The email actually came to me first from the NHS. Right? I got an email from the NHS. And then I got one through the Central Diary nearly a week later. So there's obviously a problem here that needs to be addressed somehow. And I don't think we should be apportioning any blame at this stage. This is just indicative of the whole process right now, and we need to work together. So how we're going to address that, and maybe if Lillian can take back to the project board and say, you need to keep elected members informed of what's happening, and if there is a cancellation or a postponement, then we get a reason why. We just get told it's off.
Thanks, Andy. I think the difficulty is that the NHS appear to work in a different manner than we do, and we expect everything to fit into our particular mechanism or our way of working. Hey, Dennis, do you want to add to that before
Yeah,
I ask Lillian?
just the same concerns, Chair. I mean, finally, after 5 years, we have something that was moving forward at a reasonable pace. Now seems to have come to a shuddering halt. And I know I'd asked the Council Secretary before Christmas why the cancellations were happening. And the fact there's been another one, that it really is about information getting out properly so that we're all informed and advised of what's happening.
To apportion and blame, I understand that we are not at fault in the delay in this process. Lillian, perhaps you could just embrace all these questions and provide us with a wee comprehensive response.
Certainly try with the information that I'm aware of. If I could just clarify, we didn't appoint to the general manager's post. That has, in the process of being advertised. The locality manager's post will not be filled until the general manager post is filled, and they've also, my understanding is that they are just about to go to advert. So both those elements of the management structure of the new integrated health and social care will go to advert, we would hope, in the next 2 weeks. In terms of the information to take forward the scheme of delegation and the governance arrangements, we are still awaiting information from the Scottish Government in terms of the governance arrangements and the legislative changes that may be coming or may not, and some of the scheme of delegation. The Scottish Government have indicated that that will be with the integrated board members by the end of January. So again, we are awaiting that, but the work streams are carrying on, trying to develop the process and the policy to make sure that the scheme is ready for integration on the 1st of April in terms of the shadow year, and then the work that will need to be done in the following year. In terms of the cancellation of the board meetings, the political input, I can't make any comment on that. That's managed by the Chief Operating Officer's office, but I'm certainly happy to take that back and try and establish the reason as to why it has been delayed. That hasn't, I don't have any information, so it's not that I'm not willing to share it, I just don't have it, so I'm happy to do that. In terms of the officers from the council, we're all engaged in work streams, and we're certainly all working with our colleagues in health to try to unravel and unpick some of the areas which may become challenging for us as we move ahead. So we are curtailed by colleagues in NHS in terms of them taking forward their part of the agenda, because there isn't a general manager, and the chief operating officer is also responsible for building the new hospital. So whether that has had a direct influence or not, that's something that we've been raising with colleagues in health. That's as much as I could give in terms of an update.
Thanks, Elaine. Obviously better informed than me, because I thought after the meeting that the advert was to go early January, but there you go. And I thought we were in the position of appointing locality managers, but it's not gone yet. So that is the current position. I think the other thing, Claire tells me it's the 9th of March that's the provisional, 12th of March, the provisional date for the next meeting. Dennis?
Yeah, with that information, are we confident that these officers will be in post by the end of this financial year? Because it does seem to be slipping now.
I certainly wouldn't be confident, because you will have a period of time to accept the applications, you'll have a period of time to assess them. If the applicant is, or an applicant is successful, that individual may well have to work a termination time in his or her current employment. So I certainly wouldn't be confident. I think what we'll be confident of is that, or at least I'd hope we'd be confident that we will have a name and a date for that person to be in place. And I think that's as much as we can hope for. It may be that Lily and I will have a discussion and see if we can give members a general briefing in the 24th of February, or the up-to-date position in terms of interview timescale, because it is absolutely vital that when we sit down on the 1st of April or the beginning of April, that we are in a shadow year with a mechanism and a board that's actually moving forward. Dennis, you want to come back and then Andy?
Final one, Chair, thanks. Well, I mean, this is the problem, because locality thing was supposed to be up and running, and it links to area committees and everything, and I really think we need a proper timescale and a proper understanding of how this is going to start, when it's going to start, how we take it forward, because if it slips another 2 or 3 months into the next financial year, then the time we've lost, I think, is vital.
I wouldn't want to be pedantic, but we have no control over it. We have given delegated authority to members of this committee who sit in the subcommittee, and they manage the day-to-day running of that new organisation, albeit, and this is a very, very difficult concept for members to grasp, and I can understand it, that we can't instruct and we don't have control other than the members that sit independently on that new board. You wanted to come back briefly, Dennis?
It was just the final one, Chair. What I'm saying is, somebody give us a proper timescale. It's no good coming back and saying, we hope to be in place. Give us a proper timescale when this can really start, so that we know. Because it has, to me, a knock-on effect on a lot of things we're doing right across, even down to the area committee and the area cycle of things.
I agree with that. I'm just concerned that we might not be able to do that. Andy?
Thanks, Chair. I totally agree. We have delegated power in that subcommittee, and you're absolutely right. But when it's no meeting, we can't talk about it, which is hence the reason we have to raise it here today. I'm a bit worried about the time scales here. If we're talking about having a joint board meeting on the 12th of March, whatever's agreed then will have to go to full council before the end of March, because the strategic plan is to be in Edinburgh by the end of March. So how are we going to get it all fitted in that time period? That's the question. But we can't duck that one, because unless Scottish Government are going to give us an extension, and I don't think they are. We've had 2 years to get this sorted.
I will ask Claire to respond. I'm concerned that we think the full council will decide what happens to this charter board. I don't think so. But Claire, can you just confirm, is that what you were telling me, that that's not right?
I was just merely saying, Chairman, that, you know, if required a special full council, one would be scheduled for that purpose. We're not stuck to the council diary as it stands at the moment.
I think, thanks very much, Claire. I think the other thing is that there's no point in speculating, because all we'll do is create a rod for our own backs. Why don't we satisfy ourselves that Lillian will work with the Chief Operating Officer. I will take it up with senior executives in the council today. I will ask for an explanation as to where we are. And on the 24th of February, we will get as much information to you as we can. Hopefully, that will satisfy all members that things will be in place at an appropriate juncture. Ian.
Really pleased to hear you saying that, Chairman. I think that's a good way forward. But going back to the point when Councillor Ferguson picked up on there as well in regards to the delegated, in real terms, the council's had no communication because the subcommittee has not met, and it's unable to meet. The communication and has been sparse, to say the least, in regards to why it's not meeting. It's just been that we haven't actually met. We've got kind of cancellation of meetings, so there is a kind of real lack of communication that needs to be brought up to speed. It's not how we would normally work with the council. I feel as if the NHS is wagging us about here a wee bit.
Thanks for that, Ian. I think we've given us a fair hearing. You will be advised on the 24th of February the status we have. In the meantime, I will take it up with Chief Executive or senior officers and hopefully get you a briefing on the circumstances that prevail at the moment. Members happy with that? Thanks very much. I have no other business. Thank you very much for attendance today and thanks for your input and your questions.